Councillor Jones first.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I'd actually like to make an amendment to the agenda and remove item 4.2, which is the garbage collection. I have noticed some incorrect data in discrepancies in the additions to the cost analysis, which would change some of the potential cost savings. I feel that we would need correct data to make an informed decision. We also received some information from Mr. John Turner that should also be looked at in order to receive correct information.
Okay. Okay, so that one, I'll ask Councillor Barton if he wishes to accept that as a friendly amendment, or
I will accept that.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time we have regular council meeting January 12th, agenda to be amended, removing item 4.2 for the reasons outlined by Councillor Jones. Next comment from Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Can I just step back to that last one that we just amended? Because my understanding of what that was there for is not the approval of this to go forward, but the approval to give administration the ability to go out and put this to RFP so we can understand the costing. Maybe I'm confused, but that's the way I was reading this, was that we were looking at this going to an RFP so that we could legitimize those potential cost savings. Maybe council wants to correct me and I didn't quite read it properly. So, but I do have an addition to the agenda following that little comment.
Okay, so as far as removing item 4.2, in my mind, if there's any discrepancy in the numbers, and I think we've got what's in the agenda, we've got what Councillor Jones showed me this morning, as well as we've got Mr. Turner's numbers that don't all add up. So obviously there's a disconnect there, so I'd rather get that, and then absolutely, then we can get to RFP stuff. But I think for today, I'm totally okay with removing item 4, for myself, I'm okay with removing item 4.2 and putting it back to administration just to double check and clarify, and if you have to find a different way to report those numbers so that it's clear, I don't know, you guys figure that out. That's where I'm at with that, and then it can go to... Yeah,
no, great. I was reading it like they needed to have the RFP to get the numbers to help us make a decision, but that's fine.
You've got an addition?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where to take this. A resident submitted to all of council. We're all aware of this. A couple of resolutions. In my experience being on council, unless I missed any of those meetings where this happened, but we've never had that happen in our chambers before, where resolutions have been put forward by a member of the public to be added to an agenda and then voted on in that same period. This person has taken some time and some consideration on a couple of items. Those resolutions we all received. I would like to receive them as information into the agenda, and then perhaps as a next step, possibly as a committee of the whole, just to have this individual present to us where the context of this is coming from. In that same regard, have administration provide their information, and for us as a council to ask questions on all that so that we can make informed decisions. That's generally the process of information. So Mr. Turner, if you don't mind me addressing you directly, I appreciate that you did this. Unexperienced in my regard to take this immediately this way. For myself, I would feel comfortable bringing this as information and then us having the ability to review it, discuss it, and then it make its way back here in this form, if that's the way all of council agreed to. That's at least my vision of how it would happen. If any of council or administration have comments on my direction or perception of this, these proposed resolutions and information, then I'll take that into consideration. But I felt it prudent that we bring it to council into some kind of a considerary function, and then take it forward from there.
Okay, so there will be, I'll ask Councillor Barton again, friendly amendment if he wishes to add, I'm going to call it item 4.3 so we don't get too confused with the numbers here. Adding item 4.3 regarding receiving Mr. Turner's email as information for council. There is a 4.3? Where am I? Oh, I missed that. Sorry. I got my scratch lines scratching out my numbers. We'll call it 4.4.
Even though we removed 4.2, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to replace
Okay.
4.2 because we'll get
Yep.
confused with
Okay.
what 4.2 was when we removed 4.2 and now we're adding 4.2. Get what I'm going?
Yeah, I accept that
Okay.
change.
Thank you. Councillor McGonigal.
Thank you. I have a request for a friendly amendment to the motion of Councillor Nychuk. And that would be to actually place the motions on the agenda as motions so that there is a more formal way for them to come back. We can certainly refer them to committee of the whole for discussion and a meeting with Mr. Turner, but to receive them just as information, I think is not, would not be my preferred way to go. I'd prefer to put the motions on the agenda and then council can decide at that time to refer them to committee of the whole.
Councillor Cooey.
Again, looking to Jody and Sharon for correction. If there's a motion on the table, we have to vote on that motion.
Correct.
So I personally don't feel, unless you're willing, and also a councillor has to bring it to the agenda as a motion. So I'm not sure if that's what you're doing at this time, Vicky, but a motion can't come to this table unless we're willing to vote on it, as I understand.
Councillor McGonigal, maybe I'll ask you.
Sure.
With adding item 4.4 regarding Mr. Turner's email that he sent, which was information plus motions that he wanted us to make. Council are the only ones that can make motions. The only ones. The public does not make motions for council to vote on. They provide information, we make the motions, and we vote on our motions. With adding item 4.4, can we put this discussion forth at that time rather than changing it right now? Because there's going to be ample time when this comes back in item 4.4 to have that discussion. And if you wish to bring those motions as Mr. Turner wrote them and have council vote on them today, you're more than welcome to do that at
So
that time.
at that time.
At that time.
I'm agreeable to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll leave it as rather than receiving Mr. Turner's email to discussion of Mr. Turner's emails. Is that okay, Councillor Barton?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And any other questions regarding that process can be brought forward at that time. Okay, so to rewind, I see nobody else. To rewind, oh, you're back on again. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, there's lots of times motions come before council. Does not mean we have to vote yay or nay on them in the same meeting. And there are lots of times when we refer them to committee of the whole or we defer them. It doesn't mean we have to go up or down on a particular motion that day.
That's absolutely correct. You can defer the motion, yes, at that time. Okay, so we have motion from Councillor Barton to adopt the agenda for the regular meeting January 12th as amended, to remove item 4.2 and send back to council for further clarity on the calculations, and to add discussion item 4.4 regarding Mr. John Turner's email regarding information and requested motions.
Yeah, my motion, yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Got it, Jody? You know where we're at? I'll watch the video. Then watch. Thank you. Okay. Previous meeting minutes adoption from the December 8th meeting. Ask for a motion from Councillor Brookwell that Council adopt the December 8th, 2025 regular Council meeting minutes as presented.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, business item 4.1, aquatics expansion update. Kaylee?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am here today to provide you with a quick and brief Council update on the aquatics expansion. So within phase 1, where are we at? We are tiling everything right now, finally. So it's starting to get down to those fine details of finishing details. So as we move through getting all the tiling done in both the change rooms on the floor, a lot of the flooring tiling is done. We're now getting up the walls, which is exciting to see. We've got still a lot of electrical going on, a lot of electrical and data, like the mechanical component and the electrical component is huge in this facility, so that continues to take place. But they happen simultaneously together. They're working on finishing a bunch of the painting in the facility. It's looking bright now that we got some paint in there. It's not all gray, so it's coming along. You're going to start to see some of the colors that have been selected by our architects in there to really bring the space to life. We're wrapping up the CD work, so that is our original groundwater work. We've got the pumps in the ground. We're ready to start wrapping that up. We're just waiting for spring to arrive so we can kind of finish more of that kind of civil work around the pumps. We are slowly dismantling the wall that is separating phase 1 and phase 2 so we can kind of start tying the two phases together. And we are working on some of the bigger items now in phase 2. So within phase 2, we pretty much have the demo complete, which is great because we'll start to wrap up the change orders around the unknowns that we come across when you do renovations. We've also developed the scope now that determines what the extent of the repairs are for the old basin and what it's going to look like to get that all repaired and completed. It's out for pricing right now, so we should be seeing that shortly. That will be our single largest change order now to come forward, with some minor small ones as we start to kind of bring all the details together as we finish putting in those final details. With regards to change orders, we're right now sitting with our change directives totaling 1.6 million in change. Not a lot of really big ones sitting in there. We've got still some of that abatement work and some of the unknowns because this was still a lot of the change orders that were driven by phase 2 as we got into the demo and the existing building and some of the unknowns that we were able to find as we uncovered different components of the building. And with regards to our dates coming up, we've had, we closed our phase 2 down in October 3rd, and that's where we were able to kick off and get going on phase 2. We're looking at a project completion still of June. We're looking to get that full updated schedule now that now we know what the scope of phase 2 repairs are. So we should be able to bring that back shortly for council's review. And that's where we're at right now. Luckily, we've had no further tariffs come forward, so that's been a nice piece. We were a little concerned when that first popped up in the project, but that seems to have settled out. And that's all I've got for you.
Perfect. Thanks, Kaylee. Any questions, Kaylee? Councillor McGonigal.
Just so I'm clear, item number 2 under item number 2 on page 2, between the so the cost of this went up. I'm trying to add them together here quickly. $600 some odd thousand in 2025 due to delay, schedule, and change of scope. Am I reading that right?
Is that where you're seeing item 1, dewatering activities, item 2, revised scope estimates, and then item 3, the schedule delay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. That was our change order that we came across in the first fall, where we came across groundwater. And so from there, addressing the groundwater meant we needed to change the design around our sump pump system, and to ensure that we were capturing and dealing with all the groundwater that was discovered and any of the implications that we had with the groundwater appearing in the construction site. So we had a bunch of pumping to keep the water down in order to be able to install the new design. As a result of that, it did have a construction delay, which meant that we weren't able to get our excavation completed and our foundations poured as a result, because we had to deal with the water first. And so there was some back and forth with regards to geotechnical designs and structural designs to determine what the resolution was for that design. So yeah, that's where we had, that was our biggest single change order that came to date, was at that change directive, which was dealing with the groundwater.
So how much of our contingency, there's a built-in contingency of about $2 million, am I right?
Yeah, there's a built-in contingency of about $2.4 million overall with the project as a whole. Right. And we are sitting at just under, I think we're at, no, just over 250,000 right now remaining in the budget.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that figure. Just over 2
Just
million?
over 250,000.
Okay.
Or sorry, that was wrong. Just over 750,000. Sorry. So the contingency was originally 2.4 million, and it's remaining right now at 750,000.
Left.
Left, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions for Kaylee? See none here, none. Thanks, Kaylee. We'll move on.
Thank you.
Item 4.2 was removed, so moving on to item 4.3, Land Use Bylaw Review Project. Sarah?
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So this afternoon I will be speaking to the Town of High River Land Use Bylaw Review. As I've noted in the report before you, the town's land use bylaw came into effect in 2017, and that marked a major shift for the Town of High River. We went through from a strictly Euclidean model to one that incorporates a form-based approach. The Euclidean land use bylaws have been the standard in North American land use bylaw planning since a landmark Supreme Court case in 1926. That system separated out zones, usually quite strictly, such as residential, commercial, industrial, and institutional, into very specific geographical areas within a municipality. The system gains really widespread traction as a dramatic increase in car ownership came to be. And the land use bylaw in the Town of High River, we continue to have some distinct districts: traditional neighborhood district, neighborhood center street district, central business district, and service employment district, among others. And the town does still believe that having these separate districts does serve a very useful purpose to ensure that the community's needs are met, and we have appropriate separation between uses that would be incompatible with each other. However, our land use bylaw now incorporates some important aspects of something called form-based code, including ample opportunities for mixing of uses and a strong commitment to high quality and pedestrian-oriented design, and a de-emphasis on parking infrastructure. At the time that our land use bylaw passed in 2017, the town was actually the first community in Alberta to incorporate form-based code into our land use bylaw and to eliminate minimum parking requirements fully across the municipality. Since then, in Alberta, Edmonton has also followed suit and eliminated all of those parking requirements, and a couple of other municipalities, including Calgary, Camrose, and Beaumont, have removed parking minimums in some circumstances. All of these municipalities reached out to the town of High River to ask us about what our experience has been before implementing their own changes. The town's development division frequently hears from planning departments from other municipalities, as the town of High River is featured on the Strong Towns website and on the Parking Reform Network website as one of the municipalities in North America to eliminate parking minimums. Although administration does continue to support this direction of removing minimum parking requirements for most developments, recent proposals do suggest that parking for high-density developments may need to be reconsidered to minimize impacts on the surrounding neighborhoods. Eliminating parking minimums is a factor that's frequently discussed as a way to increase affordable housing. In fact, that's one of the reasons that the town of High River is on the Strong Towns Housing Ready Communities list. In fact, the town of High River is actually the only town, not city, but the only town in Canada that's featured on this housing ready map. Other listed municipalities in Canada are cities, and it's also one of the very few towns in the United States or across North America to earn this recognition. In addition, the town has received 2 awards of merit for the land use bylaw, both in 2018, one from the Canadian Institute of Planners and one from the Alberta Professional Planners Institute, recognizing planning excellence. The administration does believe that the town's land use bylaw is performing well overall. The new land use bylaw encourages developers to submit proposals that are creative, that are thoughtful, that have a mix of uses, and a strong focus in enhancing the pedestrian experience. However, as we are continuing to see more and more multifamily developments, now we believe it's timely to review those sections of the land use bylaw to regulate that type of development, now informed with this recent data and experience that we've gained through these new applications. Planning staff have been documenting issues and concerns as they come up since the time that the land use bylaw came into effect. We've noticed a few different concerns. They fall into a few key categories, such as form and character concerns. Those are particularly with respect to the infill neighborhoods, density concerns, again, more so with the infill neighborhoods, concerns regarding the step back requirement above 2 stories as a way to reduce massing in communities. Landscaping concerns have come up. Drive-through developments, concerns regarding the number of vehicle accesses, home occupations. We've had a few comments and concerns regarding that, signage comments and questions, as well as some diagram interpretation concerns. We believe that some of the diagrams could be clearer in what they're trying to convey. However, these are simply concerns that we as the Planning and Development Division have been recording based on our own experiences, observations, based on interactions with the developers, as well as with council, the public, and other divisions within our community. The engagement component of this project will be a critical aspect to really understand the full scope of the concerns and the rationale behind those concerns, to make sure that we have a development, a land use bylaw that really works for the community at large. Administration is recommending a timeline of February 2026 to November of 2026 to ensure that there's adequate time to meaningfully engage several different groups, and that's going to include the development community, the general public, and members of council. Our objectives are to conduct a full review of the land use bylaw, identifying strengths, weaknesses, gaps, and inconsistencies. We propose to have a special focus on the identified areas of concern. We also want to align the land use bylaw with the town plan, council strategic priorities, and as well provincial requirements. We like to update the land use bylaw regulations to support housing choice and high quality urban design. We'd also like to improve usability and clarity, as we have a few issues and concerns that have arisen, and accessibility for staff, developers, and the community. And finally, we would like to engage interested parties and the public to ensure that the land use bylaw reflects community values and council priorities. Our scope of work would start with a background analysis, background research, and gap analysis, followed by our public engagement. We would engage with interested parties and the general public. We would identify a variety of different engagement opportunities through multiple channels such as workshops, open houses, surveys, and online platforms. We would engage council, administration, the development community, and the public. And from there, we would draft the amending bylaw. That would be a basic outline of the proposed amendments, and make sure to engage in a legal review for compliance with Municipal Government Act. Then from there, phase 4 would be review and refinement. We would circulate the draft for internal review and as well for feedback from interested parties and the general public. We would host an open house on that draft review bylaw, and then revise the draft from there based on the input that we've received and, of course, council direction. Finally, we would do the adoption and implementation stage of the project. That would be presenting the final draft bylaw to council for their review and consideration. We would then provide training for staff and educational materials to the public and the development community. And we would finally develop an ongoing monitoring toolkit and evaluation framework, because of course we want to make sure that the changes that we have made are addressing those ongoing issues. Like I said, our estimated project duration would be from February of this year to November 2026. And we want to ensure that our new land use bylaw fully aligns with the town plan and council strategic direction. We would want to see improved usability and clarity of the land use bylaw and improved interested party and community feedback. And then finally, our proposed budget is $15,000. That would be for items such as open houses, and just in case we would need to engage a developer for something unforeseen or any type of legal review that we might need. In conclusion, the development team recommends that council accept the proposed scope and timeline for the land use bylaw review project. Are there any questions?
Questions from council? Councillor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. And thanks for the presentation. Appreciate it. Yeah, about time we got around to this. I was part of the entire team that brought that new land use bylaw forward, and at that time when we did bring it forward, we committed to reviewing it after a period of time. So we had a situation that helped spur that on, but nonetheless we're here and this is a good thing. In terms of the $15,000 budget, that's the majority of this work is going to come internally. I understand that. There was reference to a consultant. I don't think we'll get very far if we if we implement a consultant with 15,000, but nonetheless, I guess we're feeling quite comfortable that we can tackle this as an internal administrative team to come up with the result that we're looking for.
That was a number that also came to council in October of this previous year. So you are correct that we are absolutely intending to have all of the work done in-house. This was set aside, like I said, for open houses, for materials, things of that nature, and it would be a very minor task if we needed to have a consultant or legal review. It would be something very minor, like, for example, some help with the graphics. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Sarah.
Councillor McGonigal?
I have two questions. One is related to what Councillor Nychuk just raised, and I guess my question is, how many staff do we have in planning who will be working on this project?
Yes, so it will be mostly with me and my backup file manager, who will be Shalane Broomfield. Our manager will also be playing a role in this, and of course we will be including the other members of the team, but they won't be as formally involved in the project. We will be bringing items to staff meetings for their guidance and direction, but they won't be as formally involved as myself, Shalane Broomfield, and Helen Mohammed. Those will be the three members that will be mainly involved.
And would I be correct in assuming that the cost of staff is not included in the 15,000?
That's correct. This would be any type of invoice that the town would be engaging in above and beyond. That would be, like I said, anything to do with open houses, anything to do with refreshments, poster boards, things of that nature. A legal review, if anything came up where we felt like we needed to get a legal review done.
I guess I'm concerned that since we have a planning department, I'm concerned that we're budgeting for consultants, and that would be a problem for me. Also on page 2 of your report, you list the following key groups that will be engaged in the project, and I'm just wondering about wording here. The development community will be involved. The town administration would be involved, but the general public would be consulted. I'd kind of like to prefer to see a reversal of approach, like the general public would be involved. The development community would be consulted. My preference is to have our land use considerations driven by our communities and our members of our communities rather than by developers. Just my comment. Okay.
Fair point, right, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely, fair point.
No, that works. Any further questions, comments? See none here now. I will ask for a motion from Councillor Jones that Council approve a comprehensive review of all residential development regulations within the traditional neighbourhood district in the Town of High River's land use bylaw, with the goals of improving clarity, aligning with the town plan to preserve the small town character, and supporting diverse housing options and urban design, and that any additional issues identified during the process throughout any of the other districts be reviewed and addressed, and that a public engagement process be undertaken to gather input from the community and key interested parties.
I'll give you that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And in regards to your question, Councillor McGonigal, I think it's 100% fair that yes, you can have, like we did before when we did the big review, when we rewrote the land use bylaw, yes, we had consultants involved, but that committee that did that was primarily public. members, along with a couple of counselors, and we brought in developers and everything else, but it was led by council and the public. It was led by High River. So that is 100% on board with that one. Maggie Bagan, $5. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, back to, I'll turn it over to Councillor Nychuk for item 4.4 in his request to have discussion regarding Mr. John Turner's emails that was sent to us. I've got it here somewhere. On January 5th, 2026. Hey? No, I think we're just going to discuss it. Yeah, like, because you're not going to be able to read the whole thing up on that little screen anyway. So this is just a discussion as to what we're going to do with it.
Yeah, this to me is how do we deal with this? Like I said, in my experience sitting at the council table, I have yet to have a citizen bring a resolution or motions directly forward to be asked to be added to the agenda and vote, excuse me, and then voted on. The common practice of these things is it starts as a piece of information and exponentially the snowball rolls and gets bigger, and that comes through administration, committee of the whole, public consultations, all those kinds of things. So in respect of the submission, my challenge with it was throwing it, pardon the term, throwing it at council to be voted on immediately right today, without, I guess, perhaps the ability to have some background discussion, consultation with you, sir, or have interpretation from administration. Not saying that we need their nod yes or no, but obviously administration brings information to us as council for us to have discussion with members of the public that we might have discussions on a particular issue like these, or concern rather, not necessarily an issue, but so I wanted to bring it here and bring it into the purview of council and bring it here to chamber so that we could find the right pathway to address it and ultimately have it here as something that we could put into a motion, a resolution, and have a vote on. So I wasn't feeling comfortable enough, and maybe that's just me. Other council members might view this differently, but I didn't feel I was quite prepared to have a fulsome debate without, like, perhaps picking up the phone on the weekend and calling you and saying, hey, let's have a discussion. Then that precludes the rest of council having that same information. So I thought it might be well of value to take a half a step back, if you would, and I don't know if committee of the whole would be the right venue, or if you coming as a delegation to a formal council meeting to discuss those two resolutions that you put forward, just so it goes through the fulsome formal process, and is not only open and transparent to the public, but also has the ability for council to ask for as much information as possible to make the right decision. And that's not speaking to your resolutions being of an unintended consequence or something that we wouldn't consider. It was just going through the steps in the right way. So respectfully, I hope that makes sense to you. I will turn it over to council for their opinion and see where we might go from there. The chair would have to recognize you for the ability to speak. That's not my purvey. Thank you.
What I had said was I was asking if someone on council would make a motion to table the resolutions to a future meeting, because I thought that would be the path to do it, which is consistent with what you said. And that's exactly the way I think it would work. Go to the committee of the whole for a good discussion. I'd be more than willing to show up. I said that in the email too. And fill in why I think that these resolutions are important. So again, I wasn't asking for a motion to discuss it and vote on it. I was asking for a motion to table it. I was looking for a way for public input, and that may establish a precedent so that if others have resolutions that they feel strongly about, they can present it to you, and you can table it and put it on an agenda at some future time. So that was the clarification.
Thanks, appreciate the clarification. And yeah, this, like I said, this brings something new to the table for us, at least for me, and I think those of us that have sat on council before, something new. But times change, right? Things move on, and as a community, society, I think we're that much more engaged, for some of us anyway, in the process and things that we do. So thank you, appreciate it.
So just to clarify, so there's a couple, you can submit a request, this is what I would like to have the motion made. Council does not just blindly take a motion and just automatically put it on the agenda and automatically vote on it. That's just, unless it's brought forward by a member of council. That's just how it goes. From there, if that motion is put on the floor, council has the voting authority to approve that motion. They can defeat the motion, or you can postpone decision for future discussion. We need more information. We need more time. We can postpone it to another meeting. So that all has to be brought forward by council. So. Now, Councillor Nychuk, I was looking, did you have any requests as to how you want this email to be handled?
Well, I guess I'm bringing it forward to council for us to discuss on the best pathway forward. Obviously, we've got a resident that has brought a couple of resolutions, motions to the floor. I would like them to be considered. Not speaking in terms of how each one of us might consider that, but to have the right amount of time, discussion, open conversation, information for us to bring this to the council chamber and put a vote for it if it goes through all those steps that we've kind of talked about, whether it's a committee of the whole or it's a delegation or what have you. New experience, I think it's, quite honestly, I think it's somewhat exciting. A member of the community comes and brings this forward. Generally, that hasn't happened before in my recollection. So to Mr. Turner's point, he clarified that he would like it to be tabled. So I guess to my previous motion to adding it to the agenda, I'm not sure how we go about constructing that now that I asked for them to be tabled. And then for discussion, conversation, consultation, committee of the whole, delegation, that we go through the process that we generally go through when one of these things is created by a member of council or by administration that finds its way through our information network into the agenda. So does that clarify a little bit? I guess ultimately I'd say, can we table the motions and then go through the proper steps of the analytics, the discussion to eventually bring it back here to council.
Councillor Jones?
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. I think making a motion to bring it to a committee of the whole would allow for more conversation than a delegation, would it not? Yes, no?
I'm 100%. I'm all about bringing this whole thing to.
Okay,
I've got a
then
motion written that
can
the
I make
whole
that
thing goes
motion,
to
or are you
committee
making
of
that
the whole.
motion? It's very specifically to committee of the whole.
I won't be offended if anybody else makes a motion. It's we've got some engagement here, and I want to see it through. So if we can come to terms as council on how we're going to bring that forward, that's great, fantastic.
Councillor McGonigal?
Mayor Snodgrass, I'm prepared to make a motion that we refer Mr. Turner's emails and proposed resolutions to the next committee of the whole, and that we invite Mr. Turner to attend and have those discussions, and as well that administration prepares the background that was referred to by Councillor Nychuk. So I'll make that motion.
Perfect. I don't know how you read my notes while I was reading, but whatever. I think we all knew where we were all going with this, so I appreciate that, Councillor McGonigal. So Councillor McGonigal's motion on the floor to refer Mr. Turner's request from email dated January 5th, 2026 regarding the wastewater treatment plant and the High Country Drive possible local improvement tax to the next committee of the whole for review and discussion by council. And admin. And Mr. Turner. Good. Councillor Cooey, who do I got going here?
Yep, it's me.
Question?
Yeah, just my question, when you suggested it going back to staff, I just want to ensure that in this 2-week time period, there's time for staff to review this new information brought to the table. If 2 weeks is a fair amount of time.
Well,
He said yes.
we can always use more time. It is a bit of a crunch because at the end of the day, the cutoff date for the next council agenda is for staff reports is this Thursday, so that I can review them on Monday so that they can be on the agenda for Wednesday the following week. So it is a little bit of a crunch. We can do our best, but I can't make any promises besides having a very overarching high-level briefing at the very most.
Which is all we need.
Okay.
Like we've got lots of information on both of these topics. I don't think we need a massive report from administration. We need your thoughts, opinions on what Mr. Turner has presented. We do not need a massive report. This is more of a discussion and an opportunity to allow Mr. Turner to sit in front of council and present what he's asking.
If it's that scope, then I think we can accommodate that because we're going to go back to when this project originally started in its entirety as an independent project back in 2022, when council resolved to go forward with the design so that we had all those backgrounds before we went into this partnership collaborative approach in 2024, I believe it was.
Fair enough. I think we've got enough. So, motion on the floor. Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay. Councillor board and committee reports. Anything? No, Councillor McGonigal, I still have your name at the top of the list, or do you wish?
Sorry,
No
I
worries.
just didn't press the button. I
worries.
can just advise that I've got meetings with the library committee and the museum committee upcoming this week. The library is working on their budget, which will be presented to us, I understand. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I attended the Chamber of Commerce Gala on December 19th. It was about 80 individuals and businesses that showed up to attend the fundraiser. I don't know the outcome of that fundraiser, but it was a great event. And then also the Chamber has a number of events for 2026 already planned, and it's on their website as well as their social media for those that might be interested. Just check that out. They're planned well in advance and do a lot of community engagement and community networking, which is kind of fun to get involved with.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Cooey?
Yeah, just that West Winds will be looking at a requisition of 2% in 2026.
Thank you. Okay, I have one quick piece, and it's regarding a property on 88th Street south of the 12th Avenue roundabout that's becoming more and more noticeable slightly. It's an unsightly premise, there's no question. We are very, very aware of it. Not only are we aware of it, but the RCMP are very, very aware of it, and they have, this has been going on for months and months and months and months and months now. We're just at the point now where we can kind of talk a little bit about what all is going on there, because it is a concern for us and for the RCMP and our bylaw services. So the RCMP did arrest an individual that resides at that property the other day. There are other investigations going on the property. Now, a lot of entities are involved in that, including AHS with living conditions, et cetera, but can't get into detail because I don't have them, because they're still doing that stuff. But just want everybody to understand that things are happening with that property, and we're very aware of it. The other piece is that bylaw services, CO Prosser, we're working towards, and it's a hell of a process to get through, to get a remedial order through the court process, which is an enormous amount of work, an enormous undertaking, and we've got to get court dates and everything else all lined up before we're allowed to do anything. There's still property rights and everything that are in play on that place, so you can't just roll in just because you don't like the looks of it and start tearing stuff down. So what I wanted to let the community know, that we are very, very aware of it, and things are happening towards that. Okay? That's all I got on that one. This time we will move into the public comment section. If there's anybody that has anything regarding agenda items, then we would accept that at this time. Dave?
Mayor Snodgrass, councillors, my name's Dave Dobson. I've been before a number of you before. I'm part of a group which we have called Neighborhood Rescue, and we have been dealing with a file in town for some months. I'm not here to talk about that file. I'm here to thank you for approving the bylaw review. It occurred to me earlier that I'd been asleep at the switch, and I didn't realize that this had actually come forward back in October until I had a look at the bylaw this afternoon, or at the video this afternoon. So let me thank you again for approving that project. I'm looking forward to being part of it if there's a role for me to play. I believe I can credit Councillor Nychuk and Councillor Jones with getting this thing started way back in the summer, if I remember correctly, with the motion. So, in the spirit of it, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Hang on now.
Record, my name's Alan Brander. I think most of you know me. I have a question, first of all. In the land use bylaw that you just approved, is there a defined area that is the traditional neighborhood district?
Where's Sarah? I'll get her to, I don't have it in front of me. Is she gone? Yeah. Okay. There is. Can somebody speak to that, please?
Yeah, there's the traditional neighborhood district is the predominant zone throughout, or land use controlled district throughout the town. So it dominates quite a bit of town. So it's not like the traditional R1s, R2s, R3s that you used to see in old land use bylaws. It's much more broad, and it applies to a good swath of town of High River, from the northwest to the Hamptons to Montrose to the southeast and southwest.
So if I wanted to see exactly where these areas are impacted, how would I find that out?
If you go to our website,
yes,
there's a map on our website that you can click that has all the land use districts delineated and that are mapped out, and so you can see the scope of the work.
Are they not defined as R1, 2, 3?
No.
Okay, excellent. All right, thanks. I'll look for that, Chris. And then I was going to talk to you about, this opportunity for people to speak to council, because I have some reservations about it myself. And then you surprised me today, because on your agenda, after the public speaks, you still have one more item. So that was kind of a surprise to me. and I want to speak to that. There are, and this is this, excuse me, this Kawasaki disease thing. And I just want to say to you that there are many, many organizations that raise funds for different things. And they're all very worthwhile. I'm not speaking against this organization, but I want to caution you about moving forward with a recommendation, because you're going to have another one every other week, and perhaps more than one every other week, because once this gets public and you follow through with the recommendation, anyone that raises funds for a charity will be at your door for the same thing. So I think in my view, it's a bad precedent to set. Thank you.
We're very aware of that, Al. We've done this for a number of years now, and we're very aware as to how many come to our table. Thank you. Anyone else? John?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just before I get into what I came here to speak about, I just wanted to say about the curbside waste collection. When I pointed out those numbers, I thought, oh, you could probably, excuse me, have time to amend that RFD, and then you could have a discussion and vote on it. I wasn't in any way implying there's not a business case to move forward with that. In my humble opinion, there actually is, but it's just not as lucrative as those numbers might make you think. But from my own experience, getting rid of hydraulic equipment and taking advantage of natural attrition, that makes good sense to me. But anyway, so on to what I wanted to speak about was the Municipal Government Act. It's just simply a book full of what municipalities can and cannot do. And it's pretty much a minimum standard of performance. It's very minimal on how. There's a couple of references to what accounting standards you might have to comply with, and a few other things but otherwise it's devoid of how. How should things be done? It says what you should do, it doesn't say how, nor does it say how well, or are there any tools or remedies for taxpayers? So what you're left with is just a list of what's. And then you go to the general ledger. So the general ledger is similar in that it tells you what things costs. It doesn't tell you why they cost, it just tells you what. So for the GL reports, they're all after the fact, and activity-based cost advocates like to jokingly say is that using GL reports is like steering a ship by watching the wake. So there's a cost view, but there's no process view. So that brings me to processes. Every time I've addressed council, whether it was in person or by email, it's always been the same subject matter, and that is processes. And the theme is processes improve results, financial and outcomes. So, and I use case examples, and I asked unasked questions, and I made recommendations. However, unless someone takes them up on council, then nothing comes of it. And thank you, Councillor Nychuk, for taking up those resolutions and tabling. I appreciate that very much. So between the Municipal Government Act and the General Ledger, we only get what. We don't get the how, or we don't get the why. So who can bridge that gap? Town Council. You can, because only Council has the authority to approve RFDs. And therefore, Council is wholly accountable for then the quality of those decisions and the acceptability of them. So this is where the buck stops with Council. I have some empathy, and it was just brought up by Chris Prosser here, that there is a table of cutoff dates for preparing an agenda, and that's a good idea. You know, when you should submit items, when they get reviewed, and eventually when it gets published. And when it's released to council, you have maybe 5 days to look at it, and 2 of those are a Saturday and Sunday, so I have some empathy for that. However, that's kind of where my empathy ends at there, because there is a process that's in your own procedures, and that is the council procedure. There is you use the council of the whole. That RFDs go through there first, whether it's the initial one or a second one or a third one, and that they also are accompanied with a plan. And the plan has a sponsor. That's the person who is accountable. Now, we had two people speak previously here. They are what I would say are responsible for the work that they're working on. But there's somebody needs to be accountable for it because they do not have the authority to make certain decisions. So what I'm proposing here is, for example, ask these with the cutoff dates in that short timeline, it doesn't really give you a chance to formulate relevant questions. So, for example, on RFD 2535 on the wastewater treatment plant, a good question would have been, what are the elements comprising the $65 million estimated cost for the High River Alderside wastewater treatment field? And another good question would be, what are the assumptions used to calculate the $46 million savings in operating costs? That was a 447-page RFD. 5 days is not enough time. So if it went through the council, the person sponsoring the project and the person responsible for the writing the RFD, you could have had more time to think about it, talk about it. There's no rush. So what I'm proposing is slow it down a little bit. Make those decisions based on really good information. So my recommendations would be, as I already said, is all RFDs flow through the council of the whole first, and they are accompanied by a plan. And that the plan sponsor is there to speak to it and presents the case for the RFD based on the plan. And that's based on is that RFDs are not standalone documents. They are an output, they're a product and an output of a plan. So, and the second one would be is if you're not exactly sure what a plan should look like, there is a really good document here available from Alberta municipalities called the Large Grant Fiscal Framework. And you will find in there the elements that they have. If you want to put together a proposal for a grant, a project, follow it, just adopt it, use it. It tells you exactly what you need to do. And that would give you some information to work with that would make your decision-making higher quality and a lot easier for you to sell it to the public. And so that to sort of wrap it up here, I'd say the council members would use that time to fully understand the plan before moving the RFD to the regular council meeting, where then you could talk about whether or not there's going to be a motion on it and how you would vote on it. So that you would thoroughly understand it by then. And I think you need to focus on quality, decision quality first, worry about the acceptance later. If you make good quality decisions, you can defend the acceptance of them. And I think where you need to start is right here, the strategic priorities chart. Right now, this is a menu without prices. This should be a window into the planning, the thinking and planning of what's going on here. So there needs to be some questions. The top 5 in the now category, why did they get on the list? Why now? And what's the scope, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you could use this, ideally, just if it was on the web page with links. And I saw somewhere else somebody was talking about links that maybe the land use bylaw. Is you could click on the link, you could go to the land use bylaw is number 1 on there, and read that report that was read in here, get a better understanding of what you're talking about. So, again, and I've been through this process, trust me. I've been into management, and when we brought our critical few, we called them, into the management team, it was a gauntlet because we were competing for the same resources. And it was an allocation of resources at the end of it. So if these are the critical few, they will get resources that will not be available to other things. We would like to know more about that as taxpayers. So that's all I have to say about that. And if any questions or comments?
No questions, John. I will respond to a couple of things. Your wastewater treatment plant, we're not we're not there yet. Like, you're kind of jumping, saying we haven't done something that we haven't even got to yet. So I'll leave that at that. As far as the strategic priorities chart, like, how do you think that was formulated?
Pardon me?
How do you think the strategic priorities chart, that document that you've just showed us, like,
Yeah.
how do you think we did that?
Oh, well, I have no idea, and that's the problem. I don't know your thinking behind it. I went on the website and I see this sheet.
Okay, let me clarify that for you. That's a 2-day session, full day session
Yeah.
of all the council, newly elected council, to go through how many things got thrown out. Let me finish, please, John. How many things got thrown on the table, and out of 2 days of discussion, bringing that all into play as to what's important for this council to go after. That is absolutely a window into everything that this administration and council are working on. And that top 5 are council's top 5 priorities that we are working on.
And where would I find where you boiled it down? Where could I find a nice, succinct, one-page document that says, here's how we arrived at the now 5?
You're not going to.
Well, that's what I'm asking for, is why not?
16 hours of us discussion, and
Well,
like
I guess I'll
that's what your council is elected to do. That's just what we're
Yes,
elected to do,
I
is
agree
to
with
all
you.
go in and we go into those sessions and we all spitball it, and we all, old and new councilors, we all throw all our grenades on the floor, and we all sift through them as to new information's brought forth, old information's brought into the table, and we discuss what are we going to do.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a strategic planning 2-day session that's only
So the
involves
question
council.
is, what's so difficult about putting together a one-pager on each one of the top 5 and put it in terms that people can understand is why and why now? What's the plan forward? Is this timeline 1 year? Is it 5 years? You know, how much is this going to end up costing? Because again, there's going to be RFD after RFD come out of these.
We could do that. I guess we could do a report on each top 5 if council so wishes to do so.
But isn't that the strategic plan shares?
I get.
See, right now it's a list. I mean,
it's not a list, John. It's an active document of everything that we're working on.
Well, then
that's just
bring
all
it to
there is
life.
to it.
Explain it to us as what's the next step. We see this, and it's a list, and all you're going to find on there is another page that says maybe is who's going to be assigned to it.
Yeah.
But what's the path forward? What's the reluctance in that? I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience, and I'm telling you,
go ahead.
It's hard.
Mr. Turner, if you took a look at the full report on December the 8th that was developed, it did summarize what those priorities entailed and a quick paragraph on each top 5 priority. As well as part of that package that you would have seen where you've gotten that up-to-date strategic priorities chart would have been the detailed work program that detailed all the lists, who's responsible for what, and what the actions that are going to be undertaken. So that forms the basis. And it changes and builds upon momentum that council gets by achieving action items on a regular basis. So that's the summary, and that's the summary that we've been working with for the last six plus years. That has been successful for here. And if there's more information, that's up to council to direct administration, say, hey, we'd like a 10-page report on land use bylaw. But that is to identify the issues that council deems are important, that has additional information to bring to council at steps and stages through deliverables and measurables on a quarterly basis. And so that's kind of the premise of it.
Okay, you said it's been successful. That is subjective. Because when I look at High Country Drive, 7 RFDs over 3.5 years, that's not a measure of success to me back in the day when I was in management. If I came back that many times on a project that I said was on a critical list in my department, I'd probably be looking for a new job. That's what I would think that you might want to pay attention to is the plan is solid. I'm not saying plans don't change, but when you don't have a plan, it changes constantly. And then who the heck knows? So you're asking council to decide on an RFD that says, here, we want $15,000. A few months later, we want another 30, and then we want more and more and more. They need to have something to go back to and said, hold it, stop. When you first laid out the plan, you said the budget it will not exceed such and such because here's what we're trying to achieve. That's not there available for you to make your decisions on. So how do you make your decisions? And then RFDs come to you and you're expected to make a decision on a 447-page RFD. I mean, who had time to look through that thing? It's actually, that thing is a gift for you. Yeah. They did all the heavy lifting for you. You got every answer to every question you need in there, except you need to look at the financing of it because they're dumping in all sorts of upstream infrastructure in the $65 million. Why would you pay for the Alderside lift station? Or us, why would you pay for those force mains? And then not only that, is when do you think they're going to put something in that lift station? Okay, there's no infrastructure
we're going beyond,
upstream of that.
We're going to discuss that stuff.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just saying
I get it. Like that's what the report is for, is to provide council that administration. Again, I'm saying you're jumping the gun as to where we're at in that process. Absolutely.
Because the resolution is talking about
I feel that
clarifying some
we're
issues.
going to discuss this again, John.
Okay, I'm just going to go one more time. Put that up there. Make those a link so I can go in there and anybody else can go in there and click on that and say, okay, what's all this about here about High Country Drive intersection?
Well,
where's it going to go?
That whole project's got a whole page on the website.
Yeah, that's
right?
all I'm asking for, so we can drill down.
Well, it's already there. That's what I'm saying. It's already there, John.
Well, I was just there the other day. I didn't see a link off of this page.
I'm not gonna see. Okay.
Well, maybe, somebody can send me the link to where I would find that. That would be appreciated, so. But anyway.
Okay.
So.
We can do that.
I'm saying you need to have, you're going to be accountable for these decisions. Quality and acceptance. So.
That's what elections are for, 100%.
And if you want to know if things are successful or not, is try doing some polls on it and see what happens. Maybe get out there and ask the question. Just don't assume it's successful. Anyway,
lots of stuff is subjective, like you said, John. Anyone else? Public comments? See none? Item number 7, council correspondence requiring action. Municipal displays of respect and support, proclamation request from the Kawasaki Disease Canada. I will ask for a motion from, where are we at? Actually, Councillor McGonigal, would you like to make this motion?
Sure. I will make the motion that council authorize the mayor to sign the Town of High River Kawasaki Disease Awareness Day proclamation on January 26, 2026.
Thank you. Questions from council? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned 4:14 p.m.